not everybody's going to be interested in what you are interested in. And just because you make the movie doesn't mean that people are automatically interested in it.
I believe you've said when you're marketing a film, you're marketing more than just the film?
Yes. Yeah, many times. So, and again, when I say like stuff like this, when I say it's important to build your own brand as a filmmaker and not just market the film, market yourself, I'm not saying that you can't just focus on the film. I don't. And I've found, at least for me, this has been very advantageous. And I think in this day and age, more filmmakers need to take this approach, because I think, I don't want to say toxic, but I think a negative attitude, or it's become a negative attitude, is this: I just want to make the movie and it's going to speak for itself, you know? And I don't mean that's necessarily a bad, you know, or a negative state of mind, but it's having a negative effect on your career, because you are leaving so many opportunities on the table. You know, so now when I market a film, yes, I am out front there, and I try to equate my marketing to, like, you know, if I'm doing the Bigfoot thing, I'm like, hey, this is a Bigfoot documentary I made and why it's important to me, you know, or an anecdote, you know, personal, how it made me, you know, how it made me feel, or why I did it, or, you know, something beyond, this is my movie, go see it. You know, this is my Bigfoot movie. This is what it's about. Here's the trailer. Go see it. Like that, you know, that's cold. That's impersonal. And in this day and age, with so many people out there trying to promote, you have to connect to your audience. You know, you have to give them, you know, a reason to watch like this thing, because there's 100 others just like it. Like, why watch this? You know, why listen to you? So you try, you know, and I know it sounds egotistical, but you make it a little bit about you, or how it relates to you, or your journey, you know? And I think that is essential. And doing like the filmmaking videos, and I'm not saying every filmmaker needs to go out and start a YouTube channel. You don't necessarily need to do that, but like doing that has helped me in so many different ways when it comes to marketing. You know, like I think I mentioned it before, you know, it taught me to be more confident on camera. It taught me to be a little more confident in saying, yeah, you should watch this movie, you know, and not being just self-deprecating and just like, well, here's my movie, maybe you'll like it. You know, who wants to see that? You know, and I try to be, you know, like, you know, very, you know, humble about it, and, you know, genuine. And I think that translates when the marketing works and is successful.
Right. And sometimes, you know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, spreading your feathers and wanting to be bold. And, you know, there's sometimes people tend to play it too safe or too small.
Yes.
So, and I think if we've been conditioned that way, we feel like, oh, I'm being such a narcissist and so egotistical right now. But sometimes those people really succeed, and you got to kind of emulate that at times.
Yeah, well, there's an old adage, and it's, you know, I am from the working class. I am, you know, I'm Gen X. I just turned 50. Like, I am from the, like, just keep your nose down, do hard work, you know, whether it's in regular work, jobs, or, you know, doing films, whatever it is. Just, you know, keep your nose down, don't make a fuss. You know, like, you know, I heard it on a podcast, another, like a famous filmmaker was talking about it, and they were talking about, because they were a Stack Shepherd, and he's like from Detroit, and he was talking about how when he started getting success, like, you know, he had this like almost chip on his shoulder, because, you know, it's like, oh, who are you? You think you're big time now. And, you know, and I understand that, you know, like that is a legitimate emotion, and there's nothing wrong with feeling that. But if you want to be a successful independent filmmaker, like you have to navigate that a little bit. There's a medium ground. You don't have to be like look at me, look at how great I am. Like, that's not what it's about. It's about, like, here's a thing that I made that makes me feel this way, and I think it's going to make you feel that way, or whatever it is. I'm sounding touchy-feely with it. It can be more, you know, like, here's a thing, it's really cool, this is why it's cool, this is why I think you'll like it, this is why I like it. And that's, you know, like, one filmmaker that I think is really, really good at the entrepreneurial thing, like Kevin Smith, you know, and I'll be straight up honest. I liked his first movies, and I kind of don't much care for anything after that. You know, every now and then, like I liked Red State, but for the most part, as a filmmaker, I don't follow him anymore. But as a person, as a personality, I watch everything he does. I watch his podcasts. When he does, if I can go to one of his live shows, I'll go to it. I don't necessarily, I don't think I've watched probably his last 3 movies, but I consume his other content. And, you know, I think it's the same thing with me. I have my filmmaking channel. I have a lot of filmmakers that watch my filmmaking channel. They don't watch my movies. They don't care about my movies. There are people that do, but it's not them. And it's not for them. So like when I get filmmakers that'll, you know, whatever, you know, crap on my stuff, like I do low budget documentaries, there's a lot of technical flaws in them. And, you know, they'll say, well, this isn't a good movie. You're just throwing out numbers. You're just doing, you know, quantity over quality, you know. And there may be an element of that is true, but it's not just cash grabs. Like I believe in everything I do. And I also I think it's really important to love the process and not just the end result. And I'm not trying to just like excuse bad work, but you have to love I think you have to love the process first if you're going to be a filmmaker, because the truth is, whether it's creatively or financially, so few films actually come out. You know, either it's not what you intended or it is what you intended and it just doesn't make money. Like, and if you are just connected to that like end result, whether it's creatively or financially, you're most likely going to be disappointed. But if you love doing it, then it's, you know, it's gravy. You know, like you can still, like I'm still disappointed when, you know, a movie doesn't come out quite like I wanted it to, or it doesn't, you know, perform financially like I wanted it to. And, you know, I might be a little down on it, but I have that experience of making it, and that, you know, takes me to the next.
Sure, and the process is sometimes not always fun. You got a bad back. You're sitting at the computer for hours editing or whatever. Stuff's not working, but that's part of the process. And not everybody, you know, not everybody wants to be an actor waiting on set, waiting for their, you know. There's different things where once you know what the process is, you go, okay, yeah, actually, I think I like this.
Yeah, exactly, and find where you fit into it. You know, so like, you know, I've spent a lot of time talking about these like low budget documentaries, and a lot of filmmakers will watch and say, well, I don't want to do that. And there's nothing wrong with not wanting to do that. If it's not your thing, don't do it. Like, but you can take these general concepts though and apply it to other milieus. You know, it doesn't have to just be this. You know, and it doesn't have to be, you know, like I make docs in about a week. It doesn't necessarily have to be a week for you. It might be a few months for you, or a short period of time for you might be 6 months, you know, and that's fine too. You know, but I think the most important thing is just to keep, I say on my channel, you know, just keep making movies, you keep creating, however long it's taking you to finish them. But you have to, on some level, you have to find something in the doing of it that sets you on fire. You know, otherwise, you know, you're in for heartache, because independent film is tough, both on the creative, you know, production and on the business. And, you know, it gets tougher, you know.
And then how many Facebook groups do you have? Just one, or?
Just one.
Just one,
yeah. There were times, I think, when I had more. I mean, just one for the filmmaking. Like
Right.
And I used to do one for every movie I made, and it's just every time you got to make it, you got to start over, you got to build it up. So now what I do is, you know, I have 2 groups, and when, you know, because like I said, I do a movie once every other year. So I'll take that exact group, I will rename it, it'll be the next movie.
Oh, okay.
So like I still have a Craving group and a Hard Place group. When I get ready to do the next movie, the Craving group will disappear.
Oh.
Because after a certain point, like a year or so, the group's is not getting you anything. You know, it's new stuff that feeds those groups.
Sure.
At least in my experience.
What are the first things filmmakers need to know about getting people to watch their movie?
First thing, that not everybody's going to be interested in what you are interested in. And just because you make the movie doesn't mean that people are automatically interested in it. Like, you have to kind of put yourself in an audience mindset. And a lot of times the audience might be you. Like, you're making it for other people like you. You know, but look at it like, try to look at it from the outside, even if it is for you. Like, try to look at it like, and I think writing's the same thing. When you're writing, like, when I write now, I try to think in the third person. Like I try to think like, how is this playing to someone that's never seen it before? You know, and I do think that translates, because I think one of the major things about having a successful film is connecting with an audience. And again, this sounds kind of robotic, but it's retention. You know, like getting an audience in is half the battle. You have to keep them in, and you have to keep them in for a certain amount of time. You know, especially that's what streaming is all about. It is about getting the click on and then keeping it there for enough time that it registers, you know, because if you don't, those algorithms hate you, you know, and they won't show it to more people. So it's the first thing you need to do is you're not making it just for you. Stop thinking about it like just for you or just your expression. You know, I'm not saying not to look at it like that way, but that's the other thing. A movie can be two things. It can be for other people, and it can still be a pure expression for you. You know, it's not a binary or a non-binary situation. You know, it can be both. You know, there's no, like, you know, just because I say, you know, you need to make this for the audience first doesn't mean it can't be equal with you. Like, both of those things can exist. But if you want to make money with the movies, the audience thing has to exist.
Sure, and just to take your channel, you are interested in marketing and distribution and,
yes,
and film, so that lends itself to then being credible on camera and people wanting to listen to you. If it was something that you didn't really care about, just creating the channel for that, who knows if it would be as successful. I
think you're absolutely right. I think it's essential. Like, so if you are going to go down the path and you want to create a filmmaking YouTube channel, you know, don't just look at what you think people are going to want to know. Like, what part of it speaks to you? What part of it do you really have something to say? Like, when I looked at other filmmaking channels, like, I felt like I had something unique to say about distribution and marketing, and at a certain level. Because like most filmmaking channels, they tend to talk about filmmaking in, you know, very broad terms. You know, like this is what a film is, you know, and they're talking about, you know, from studio to independent. So like, you know, like I get a lot of pushback from filmmakers sometimes. They'll be like, well, you know, David Lynch does this, or, you know, Quentin Tarantino does this, or, you know, Christopher Nolan did this. And that's not what I'm talking about here. Like, I'll be straight honest. I'm most likely never, ever going to get to that level. You know, I will probably die making, you know, up to $500,000 movies, and that's what I'll make. And I am at peace with that. You know, there was a time when I was doing it to get to bigger things. But now, like, I like the creating of it. I like what I'm doing. I like what I make. But if that's not you, don't listen to what I'm saying. Because what I'm, like, a lot of the stuff I'm saying, like, it won't work for that $1 million movie. You know, like, it won't work maybe for even that $500,000 movie. But if you're making $50,000 movies or 25 or 100, like, that's where I live. And I do have valid, you know, life experience doing that.
Well, I think you've said that there are people in PR, and I don't know if you want to talk about this,
sure,
that say your marketing advice is incorrect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and in distribution too, there are distributors, there are PR things, and, you know, I haven't seen a lot of it like publicly. Like, sometimes they'll comment on a post and like, oh, this is like totally wrong. And the thing is like, they're not wrong. Like, they're not right either. You know, they're actually, like, I know, and this sounds very like hippy dippy, but there is no right and wrong. There's just different approaches. And, you know, what they're talking about usually is more tunnel vision. They're talking about a specific level of movie or a specific type of movie, and this is what works for that. And if we are in the same milieu, you got to remember, a distributor, a PR person, you know, they have a vested interest in their point of view being correct. You know what I mean? Like, I know a distributor, which, you know, I won't name, that just hates FilmHub. And I know actually several distributors that hate FilmHub. And they will just talk, oh, it's going to collapse, all these filmmakers are going to lose money, it's horrible. They have a vested interest in that happening because FilmHub is taking away business from them. You know, I personally like FilmHub a lot, but and they're not wrong. Like, a lot of the stuff they say, like, in a macro level is true, but for a certain segment of films, like, FilmHub is great. Like the documentaries that I make, a lot of those traditional distributors wouldn't touch them. They're niche, they're small, and I don't like to get into good bad terms, but even like indie rights who I work with a lot, there's a lot of docs I make that they wouldn't take. Like the one that just made 30 grand, I did not submit it to them, but I would make $1,000 bet they would have turned it down. And it made $30,000 through FilmHub. So for that, it's great. Now, if that movie had been 500,000 and had a famous narrator and was, I took 2 years to make it, maybe FilmHub's not the best place for it.